Oh, I got no camera. Yama, g'day. I know we're live and I've got no camera. How you going? This is a great start, isn't it? Well, welcome to today's show. Today we're going to have a yarn with nese, and I'm just going to take a second to try and get my camera going. Because it's not working. What have I done? This is a technical problem, and as you know, anyone, hi, anyway, I'm Luna. Thanks for joining the show. We're just waiting for nese to come, and this is only my second proper show, and as you can see, I don't know how to use my tech. And Armand, hey, g'day, Armand Adams, how you going? Oh, look, here's nese. I'm going to bring him in. Hang on a second. We got no camera. Hey, guess what? You muted, nese. I can unmute you now. You can hear me, nese. You're muted. Unfortunately, we're having camera problems, so that's okay. Hey, here we are. Okay, so everyone, I want to introduce you to my friend nese. How you going, nese?
Would it be inappropriate or presumptuous of me just to say my sister?
No, that'd be beautiful, my brother. And this is,
Yeah.
I was going to say that in the beginning. This is my brother from another brother, because I had Donnie on yesterday.
I would even be so bold as to say another mother, another sister
From another mister.
from another mister, but the
Okay.
same Mother Earth.
Yeah, I like that one.
But thank
Hey,
you.
nese.
Miigwech.
That's okay. And I want to thank you for joining us tonight. And I'll tell you something funny that's happened. I'm having camera problems, so there's only our little circles up. There's actually no camera at the moment, and we're working on it. But that sort of works out good because Nase's going to tell you a bit about himself and why it really doesn't matter right now if we haven't got a camera. So I'm going to leave you to Nase, and he's going to introduce himself.
Well, if I may digress, an old school mannerism of my ancestry, Buju, Anin, Nese Indigenicas Anishinaabe, Minowa, Kevin Richard Shores, Indigenicas Jaganashi Moog, Makwan Ndunde, Minowa Nindo Gichida, Aki Minowa, Kawababi Anikag, and Dunjiba Minowa, Moorhead, Minnesota, New Gumin Day, Chi Miigwech Kichimanadu, Ganikana, Pe Gish Minobima Duzi Wewiyan. Hello and hi. In the Anishinaabe language, I introduced myself, which is protocol for my people of North America, as I like to call them, the Paleo Americans. The French called us Ojibwe, and the English called us Chippewa. But in our language, we say Anishinaabe. And we have a protocol where we say who we like to be called. And that's where I say nese, because nese is the first two syllables of my Anishinaabe name that I was given to by my elder, my Niawe'e. Kevin Richard Shores, that's my name. That's the Christian name I was given upon my birth, or at least that was what I was told, because I can't remember that far back. Or maybe I don't want to remember such a horrific event since it was a hospital birth. But I said I'm of the Bear clan. My family totem, or Dudane, or clan, is the Bear clan. And then I said Nindogichida, which means I am a defender. Usually it's veterans. They call them defenders. Some people like to say warrior, but I'm not a fan of the word warrior because, no fight club, no fight club, KNOW, fight club. That it's not that I'm opposed to fighting, It's just you need to know when that's the last resort. And so I say I'm a Ogichida or a veteran, actually 100% service connected disabled veteran, but that'll come up shortly. And then I said Aki, that's the earth, and that's where I domicile, reside, as we all do. And then I said Gawa Babi Gani Kog, which translation is where the clay within the ground is white. And that's the White Earth Reservation of northern Minnesota. That is the reservation that I am enrolled in. I'm a card carrying pedigree having individual with a number, where they numbered us just like they did those in the concentration camps. Similarities, reservations, concentration camps. And then I also said Moorhead, Minnesota, northern Minnesota, about 2 hours from the Canadian border is where I domicile. And that's my intro, and I'm sticking to it. Any other questions? As you may notice, I could continue talking and squawking, or what I like to call babbling on in Babylon. And unless you give me any cues of specifics that you'd like to know of me, Luna, we've been talking quite a while, so I think you know a lot about me. But we were discussing about how going down under, where the northern hemisphere meets the southern hemisphere, and vice versa. I really appreciate you and allowing me the opportunity to share, because I care. Up here in northern Minnesota, it's early in the morning, and down under, apparently 11 o'clock at night, or almost midnight. I can't remember which one it was, but thanks for being up with us. And hopefully,
Sorry, I didn't know I was muted. Sorry. I found my camera nese and I realised I'm looking weather and more. I'm a bit tired. But yeah, sorry to leave you there, and I didn't know I was muted. I did want to ask you a bit more about your time in the army, and that would explain why you haven't got your camera on. And in the Navy, sorry, in the Navy, and what happened to you, and where you stand now.
well, I was raised in a era where if you did not have school, college, university in your future after high school, you joined the military. And being of a army family and proving that, is that my cat? Oh, I don't have a cat.
No, that's the dog next door. Sorry, I'll close the window.
Oh, really?
He's so lonely. It's making me sad. I feel like feeding him. He knows we're online. No, sorry, keep going.
No, it's okay, because I just want to make sure there's no animal in my house because I can't see it. But so because of my want or need, I can't decide, of being the black sheep of the family, or I guess that was just my role. I decided to join the Navy, which was not well thought through, especially with the last name of Shores and joining the Navy. But at 17, with the behest of my father, he signed a waiver for me to join early in the delayed entry program of the United States Navy. And I shipped out on September 13th, 1985, to go to San Diego to the Naval Training Center, where I became a radioman, shipboard communications, and was stationed on the USS Fox, CG 33, out of 32nd Street Naval Base in San Diego. And while in the military, as some veterans may know, you get inoculations, jabs, and they wreaked havoc on me and roughly 700,000 other veterans. It's commonly called the Gulf War illness, Gulf War syndrome. And because of this, I went to the VA, said something's wrong with me. And after some major scrutiny, within 3 years, I found myself in a wheelchair, all crippled up, not able to cut hair anymore because I was a cosmetologist. And my health progressed or declined. And now I'm crippled up in a wheelchair and blind also. And I've been in a wheelchair for almost 25 years now. And I've been blind for 14 years.
Wow, nese, you're a strong man. So can I ask you a little kind of personal question, like, since you lost your mobility in your sight, spiritually you use other ways? You know what I'm saying? You can, how can I put it? Your senses are more sharper now. Would you agree?
Um, yeah, I know that's kind of like one of the rhetoric. They say once you lose a sense, then your other senses kind of pick up the slack. And I would agree with that. And if we would go beyond the five natural senses and talk about the sixth sense, the metaphysical, then I would also agree to some extent. It has uh, increased, but that's been some common occurrence most of my life with the strangeness of normalcy in my existence, whether it being at the right place at the wrong time or the right place at the right time. I've had experiences where when I reflect on them, I ponder my own sanity because of the abnormality of it or the paranormal of the events or occurrences. But as far as talking spiritually, when roughly around 24, 25 years old is when I decided to go deep into my heritage as an Anishinaabe, and that's actually when things really got interesting as I started practicing ceremonies and rituals of my people and finding that these rituals and ceremonies would help me tap in, for lack of a better term.
Could you talk a little bit more about that? I know that in some cultures you can only say so much because things are still private, um, out of respect, and that's the way the culture is. So would you be able to tell us a little bit about that kind of stuff?
Well, I guess I get a pass because I'm not involved with any midday lodge. The midday lodge, the midday way we win, is a lodge where I guess for lack of a better term, the priesthood
Oh yeah, yeah.
are part of. But
Uh-huh.
it's an open lodge. Anybody can join the lodge. All you have to do is pledge to it. And I've gone to some lodges and stuff, but unfortunately or fortunately, I'm just too cynical or critical, and I have challenges with entities that proclaim something, and you witness them do other things.
Yeah.
In in my eyes, you know, I would like to generalize a elder or an entity that claims to be of positivity, then generally they're at least at a minimally 77% positivity. I'll give them that. I'll give them that 33, or no, what is that? Yeah, 33. No, it wouldn't be 33. 23% extra, of doubt because, can anybody be positive all the time? That's
No,
difficult.
not in this world. I think if you were, you wouldn't be here.
But I guess if I can go with the latest rhetoric of society in North America, I can blame it on my white half.
You're split in half.
Right. Well, I joke all the time that it's funny of how here, especially in North America, where you cannot talk in a derogatory manner about any of the other races. However, it's open range for white people. It's okay to call white people derogatory terms and stuff. But the powers shall be in an uproar if we use other words, you know, just to explain things
Yeah,
that we're demonized because we use a word that we've been socially conditioned to think it's the worst thing in the world. And it's just a word, which is really frustrating for me as a veteran, who who who's in this situation of disability or struggles, and and part of the reason of that is because of the oath that I took to defend the Constitution in the United States of America. And the First Amendment says the freedom of speech. And so it's kind of frustrating for me as a veteran to hear people say, hey, you can't say these words, but then to share the perspective of it, just because you have the right to say what you wish doesn't mean you should,
true.
especially if it's going to be in a negative manner, because repercussions happen. Some people don't have self-control.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid on the schoolyard, every now and then we'd say something to the wrong kid, and next thing you know, we found us scrapping a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And I don't agree that placing your hands on somebody else in a negative manner is the right thing to do. I would
So
rather people come to a compromise.
yeah, how do you feel about like trying to defend yourself if you have to do it when you're trying to defend yourself?
Well, that's where I said earlier in the introduction, where I said Nindo Gichida, which means defender.
Right.
And so that's what we are charged to do. We defend those that cannot defend themselves.
Yeah.
And
That's very funny, say you don't like using the word warrior. I actually do, because I tell people warrior is one that defends the weak, the old, the ones that need defending. Why don't you use the word warrior?
I just don't like the idea of war because war means death. And I'm
Oh,
not.
the word warrior has war in it. I get ya. Yeah. Yeah.
And so a warrior, someone who declares war or performs war.
Yeah.
And as a disabled veteran, and looking through historically, what the veterans have gone through and how they have been utilized as cannon fodder by the corporatism of America. They talk about America protecting its interest. Well, interest is something that banks make from our money.
Yes, it is.
So we're defending America's interest. We're defending the interest of the banks and the corporatisms of America. So is that was kind of a little bit of a head screw for me because I was over in the Middle East during the Kuwaiti oil crisis in Kuwait, where we were in the Persian Gulf. And while we were there, we were told we were going to be defending Kuwait and we were going to be helping them to liberate themselves. And the only thing that we were liberating is that we were escorting oil tankers through the Persian Gulf. And that's just because individuals wanted their oil flow to continue.
Seems to have a running theme, that oil flow thing.
Oh, yes. That oil flow flows so well. That's why it's so slick.
Yeah. So you didn't see what they sent you for, people that needed help, like you thought you were going in for it. It was just um, escorting these things, these oil things.
Well, that's what I found out when I got back, and then when I started declining in my health,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always the type of kid that asked why. I was constantly
Yeah.
why, why, and when I was young enough to get a library card, I was like, yeah, because at least I could find some of the answers to all those whys.
Young
And so
enough.
when, when I got out of the military, then my health, my health diminished, and then I was asking why. And so I
Yeah.
started researching why, and then I started, well, to digress, I met a woman named retired Captain Joyce Riley of the United States Air Force. And she was involved with a group called the American Gulf War Veterans Association. And I met her, and we became friends. And she started sending me information, and I started going on her radio show, the Power Hour, and we had a really good relationship and sharing our own investigation on what was coming. And from the get go, I was claiming it was the inoculations, the jibby jabs that we were getting.
Yeah.
And really interesting how they kind of parallel with today's world, but that's maybe another topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then Joyce Riley started, more or less pointing to the rabbit hole of the atrocities of the veterans and how they've been used as guinea pigs for, since the get go. And so, when back in the mid 90s, when I was looking for information pertaining Gulf War illness, it was in the same chat rooms and the same websites that talked about UFOs and secret societies and Bigfoot and the paranormal and ghost and cryptoids. And I was like, yeah, because I was always fascinated with the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk about that sort of stuff later. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
so
That's
I've
interesting.
been into this. Well, some people call it the conspiracy theorist world,
Yeah.
but I've been involved with that for 25 years.
Since you started asking why.
Exactly.
Wow. And what were your findings? Let's talk about your findings. So you started asking why. I'm spinning out because they got them in the same room, and it's like, what? um, yeah. So what were your findings? Looking at all the cryptoids, the weird things. Um, what I want to ask you actually before we go into cryptoids and that is, you're in the Navy, and there's places like the Bermuda Triangle, and they reckon there's other weird stuff in the water. Like I heard once this whirlpool thing in the middle of nowhere. Just weird stuff like that I've heard here and there. Did you ever witness anything weird like that while you were on the oceans?
Well, the strangest place that I got to witness while in the military was this island far, far away from America called Australia.
Wow, that would have been a
And
journey.
and I got the pleasure to go to Sydney, Australia, and I spent a couple weeks in Sydney, Australia, and it was beautiful. It was it was a delight. It was, you know, it had it has some great memories and experience in Sydney, Australia. But in the military and in the Navy, you witness things where, well, just an example. Um, because of my um, my company, I was part of the ops department, and the radio men were in with the singlemen and combat control and the bridge. And because of our proximity of the radio shack and the singleman's shack, I used to go and hang out. Plus, I had a friend of mine who was a singleman, and so at night I would go out there and hang out with him, and they would get they would have the night goggles, and they would have the really good telescopes and binoculars and stuff. And so when you're out there in the middle of the ocean, you see a whole new view of the stars where you have no light pollution whatsoever.
Oh, yes.
And especially on new moons when there where there is no moonlight either. And the stars are so incredible. That's that that was one experience of where I absolutely knew there must be some type of God when you're out there in the middle of the ocean and the water is calm, and then you just see that vastness of the solar system and the galaxy, and it's just awe-inspiring. But one night we're hanging out there, and we're talking and stuff, and next thing you know, we witness something go across the sky, and we both like look at each other like, did you just see that? And we're like, yeah. So we go into the singleman shack where two of the senior chiefs were hanging around and BSing about Navy days and stuff. And we walk in there and we're like, hey, Chief, we just saw something. And yeah, what do we do? And the two chiefs looked at each other. And then the one senior chief goes over to the squawk box and turns the volume up. And he goes, just wait. Because on the squawk box, are all the different lookouts that are on different posts around the ship. And so then we listen for a little bit and nobody says anything. And then they say, okay, don't say anything about it. And we're just kind of like, what? And then he's like, you don't want the paperwork. You don't want the hassle. And if nobody else has reported it, then just let it go.
Yeah, right. Just forget it. You didn't see it.
Yep, because I've heard of occurrences of where people will be adamant about reporting things, and then the next time we go into port, we have people that come on board and they get oh dang it, what's the debriefed?
Yep.
And in some of these debriefs, it's like you didn't see anything, you don't talk about anything, and if you do, you'll be in trouble.
Right.
Because even in combat control, if you think of the aircraft controllers, and they have that circular thing with the swooping line. Well, yeah, combat control, that's all about radars. And our ship is just packed with, equipment. And
does it go bleep bleep like they say in the
yeah,
movies?
it does. Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can.
Cool.
And so then there's been occurrences where they have witnessed bogeys, they call them, where all of a sudden a blip shows up and then it does some remarkable move. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, do we report this or not? And it's funny because there was that U.S. Navy Tic Tac video that went out 2 years ago, I think it was now. And when I heard them talking about it, the pilots, when they're talking back and forth, I've witnessed that. where pilots, in combat control, they're talking to some of the controllers, the people that are just watching to make sure planes don't crash, and they're
Yeah.
watching to make sure planes don't sneak up on our ship, and yeah, it's just really interesting that, it happens,
Yeah.
and
So
a lot of it isn't reported.
that would have spurred you right on to when you finished the Navy and got back on land, knowing that those strange and wonderful things exist and you kept looking for them.
Yeah. Well, William Cooper, who's one of my favorite all-time OG conspiracy theorists, and he's kind of the one who just thrust me down the woo ho.
Yeah.
Shout out to the captain.
Yeah.
But excuse me. But he had this video. It was called Mystery Babylon, and it was his transcript for his book Beyond or Behold a Pale Horse.
Yeah,
And
I've heard about that. I haven't listened.
yeah, great book. The video is really good too because he just basically goes through the book and shares the information of it. And 1994 or 95, a friend of mine called me up and he said, "Hey, come over, open your mind. I got a video that we're going to watch." So I went over to my buddy's house and can't confirm or deny we had a Mad Hatter's Tea Party. And he put on this video and it just popped my noodle. And in this video, Bill Cooper, he talked about while in the Navy, he saw a submersible come out of the water and jet off into the sky. And
Wow.
I think he claims it was something like 20 to 30 yards, and it was fairly close to the ship.
Don't they call them USOs, undersea
Yep.
aircraft? Yeah, there's a different name for them. That's somewhere no one
Submersibles.
looks. Hey, we're all too busy looking in the sky, brother, to look in the ocean or under the ground.
Well, it's even worse than that. We're too busy looking in our mobile devices
Oh
to
yeah,
not
now we
look at the
are.
water or the sky.
Yeah. That's for sure.
And sometimes I wonder by all the people that talk about uh, uh, how shitty things are.
Yeah.
I even ponder if they're challenged with their heads up their arses.
I'm trying to ponder that. It was a funny thought.
Right. So if you're caught up in thinking that everything is excrement, take a step back and check and see if your head's up your arse.
Well, actually, my dad, God bless him, he's in spirit world now. He taught me something about compost. He said that to make beautiful flowers, you got to have good compost, man. So in other words, you got to have a lot of like good shit
Right.
stuff, right? And out of that comes really nice flowers. You just got to wait for it, so you don't
Well,
get caught up. Yeah.
I'll be the first one to proclaim how much excrement I am full of.
Oh yeah.
And I've fasted for 9 days and I'm still producing. So I'm literally full of excrement.
We got a joke in my house. That's why I'm brown. No, just shit stirring. Yeah. So where were we? Okay. Weird and wonderful. Oh, Bill Cooper. Yeah. So you suggest listening to him?
Oh yeah.
William Cooper.
Well, the one thing that it, when you take all of these precious moments to do this research, you have, well, I strongly suggest you find a happy medium because you can overwhelm yourself and get caught up into the consumption of conspiracies. And you can find conspiracies everywhere, especially if you take more precious moments to dig it up. And so when you look at some of these individuals, especially the old school, because a lot of things that I find is the the players may change, the game may change, but seemingly the same game board is used, and that's usually a checkerboard, and usually black and white. And many different games can be played on that board, and they know, and I call them the powers that should not be. They know what works. They've had this control for so long, so they know how to change the players and change the game and keep us still distracted and caught up in looking for, you know, deeper meaning. If I give an example, when they started using the word conspiracy theorist, it arose during the JFK assassination. Because all of those that were questioning the the occurrence of JFK, they started calling them conspiracy theorist. And all of a sudden it became this label, to crackpots. It had a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the fact is, like, we may not know who literally shot JFK, but the one thing that we know is the official story given to us is not true.
Yes.
And then if we look at the psychological implications of the JFK assassination, where it's like, where's the lesson? What is the lesson that the powers that should not be are teaching us? My opinion is the lesson is, look, all of you conspiracy theorists, all of you that are willing to dig for the truth, if we are willing and able to kill the president of the United States right before your eyes, how insignificant do you think you are to us?
So true, Archie. Um, do you, do you think they have that side? Oh, don't like to give everything one thing so much power. Um, for them to be that power, well, I know that they have been doing this for a long time, like generation after generation, like anyone does. You like culture, you bring your children up in the same culture, right? Do you think that's how it's survival, or do you think there's other things behind it that are beyond us normal beings?
The manipulation of our existence, I believe, I think, I feel, has been occurring roughly for 5,000 years.
Okay.
And it's heartbreaking because, as a practicing Anishinaabe, where I'm trying to utilize the teachings of my ancestors to find the symbiotic relationship with my surroundings, as I was taught, the romanticism and the nostalgia of my people, the Native Americans, the Indians. I want to believe, that they were these entities of somewhat perfection. However, I know that that our let's see, how do I word it? Our level of perfection is tainted in a way that you, as the living, breathing entity, are perfection. There is no other Luna in this universe. And in that unique individualism, you're perfect.
True.
Now,
Yeah, that's true.
if we want to discuss our words and our actions, of whether they're positive, neutral, or negative, that's a whole different story. And so, in that realm of trying to live within perfection, I I, I cannot proclaim I am a righteous man. I am just attempting a righteous life. And I am a hypocrite because I fall short of my own standards. And so, how can I hold anybody accountable to any kind of standards if I cannot stand up, metaphorically and literally, to my standards?
We can only be the best that we can be, and we can only be the best that Creator made us. And I recommend that to everyone. Try to be the best of who you are, the beautiful being, the beautiful human. That's what I say. I call it. We suffer from human ailments. We all suffer from the same stuff: guilt, shame, awkwardness, like all them things. We all suffer from all the same stuff there, and we need to get over it and move forward because there's important stuff to be done, and we need to communicate properly. And it's getting harder because this living that we do now isn't normal living for a natural being. And I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and they said to me, and I agreed with them, that we're not actually suited for this terrain, this place, because you look at all the other animals and everything in the world, and they're made for this place. They have fur to keep them warm. They're built agile or whatever their living requirements are. We have to wear shoes. Our skin isn't covered like theirs. We don't even. It takes us 9 months after birth to start moving around properly and even figure out how to do it. Everything else is virtually born straight away and gets up and runs. And this person said to me, we're the aliens because of that. We're the ones that came here that didn't actually belong here. What do you think about that theory, Macy?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because if you, excuse me,
You're right.
I should grab. I gotta grab my water 1 second.
Yeah, just have a break. All right, we'll just have a break. Just this is a lovely, relaxing talk, I've got to say.
Oh, sure, I grabbed the water bottle. It has no water in it.
That's all right, because in a few minutes I'm going to have to go Jillawa or Gilly, as we call it, and I'm going to let you hold the boat while I go, but we've got at least 10 or 15 minutes. I got a good boat. Oh, that's my duck.
What's a duck?
It's a little yellow duck. Sorry,
There we go. That's a little better.
It's a tiny little yellow, them bath ducks, but it's a really tiny one. And me and all my daughters went out to this place and I found these, so I bought one for all of us, and every time I look at it, it reminds us of that day. But it's a little squeaky duck.
Nice.
Yeah, and I accidentally squeaked it, so I'll explain what it was.
So as I was talking earlier about the name that my people use is Anishinaabe. And if you look at the etymology of that word, it means when the spirit was brought down to the earth. Because we talk about how we are spiritual entities within a human or within a physical shell.
Are we not supposed to be talking about this, Nese? Is that why you're coughing?
No, it's because I gave in to my, like I said, I'm a hypocrite. And before we got on the chat, I had me a piece of toast.
Oh, that's right, yeah. And it's already causing you a dilemma. Well, you know what I had that I shouldn't have had? I had some yogurt dairy product. Oh. So I'll be suffering from that tomorrow.
I'm going to pour the last of my coffee. See, another example of being a hypocrite.
Yeah, and no one's perfect. Like, we are perfect in who we are. That means our imperfections are part of what makes us perfect. So we are perfect. So you're not a hypocrite.
Also,
we only try.
Well, unfortunately, I fail at trying to eat 100% healthy.
I think we all kind of fail somewhere.
Oh yeah, and I don't even like using that word fail.
That's a rough one.
I only use it for myself I don't like using it with other people.
And there's another thing, why as spiritual beings come down and dropped into a body, why are we so hard on ourselves? Why are we harder? It's like good people are harder on themselves than anyone outside them could ever be. Is that an automatic thing put in there to keep ourselves in line, or do you think
I don't
it's a
know because
like a default or something?
I can't answer that question because I find myself more times than not saying, why are we not harder on ourselves?
Oh, right.
Because the complacency that I'm witnessing is just heartbreaking. When you look back 100 years ago of what people were going through, the struggles were real compared to. I mean, I'm not taking away or trying to be dismissive of people are still struggling,
With different
but
kinds of struggles now.
right. The struggles of yesteryear is like, hey, I gotta go out in the middle of the winter to the outhouse, where today, the hardwood floors are a little cold this morning when I walked to the bathroom.
Yeah, or and you got to pay the. It is. It's just different living. Different kinds of hardship. It's more geared. Our physical needs are taken care of more, but the hardship is in our emotional and spiritual and heart area. I feel
Right?
because we've got water in the kitchen, we've got a toilet in the house, which I think is a terrible idea. Anyway, we've got a bath in the house, we've got a refrigerator, we've got a washing machine that washes our clothes, and then we went and made more clothes. But it's all so convenient, and now we've got this kind of communication, and it's all so convenient that something's got to be going out while all these things are coming in.
Don't forget about that air fryer.
Oh, the air fryer, yeah. And your air fryer and your dishwasher. But yeah, we've got all these conveniences, but it's taxing us emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, I suppose, trying to keep up with everything. It's
Well,
not
although I would rather people not struggle, in my experience, it's the struggles that have helped me in leaps and bounds in my own advancement of spirituality. Because it's to me it seems like it's really simple just to give up. It's really simple to give up, and it's difficult to keep going through it. And so I have this admiration of people with disabilities. Even when I was younger, I had a lot of friends that were disabled. One of my best buddies, Randy Schmidt, he had cerebral palsy. And he was like my buddy, and I was more or less kind of like his protector. And just to witness what he went through, just to go to school was just remarkable to me. And sometimes I look at my own disability or situation, that if somebody can look at me and ponder upon their own life and say, hey, you know, at least my life isn't as many struggles as that individual's life is. And that's cool. That's cool with me because that validates my situation. So then for one brief moment, one precious moment, somebody can be like, hey, I don't got it so bad. and that's that little sliver of hope. That's that little springboard that we can utilize instead of or not instead of but to thrust us forward. Because all it takes is a spark for a fire to start, and we have that spark within us. And unfortunately, with the social conditioning and the distractions and this, that, and the other thing, we forget about that spark within us. And sometimes when things get darkest, we forget that spark. And if we can recognize that spark within us in the darkness, then we can flame that spark and get it into a brilliant fire. So we're not in the dark anymore, and we are the light.
You've heard my little poem about that. The light dwells deep within and shines beyond your mortal skin. That's when it's fired up, you shine. But you're right, now say to spark. Sometimes it helps with a little friend, rings up, or have you experienced, I'm going to get right into this, have you experienced your spirit getting a notice when someone that you care about or you're connected to is feeling the way that you just said, and your spirit will get a little bing that says, hey, we need assistance here, can you put some energy for this person, saying because they're having trouble bringing their light up? Have you had that experience? That happens to you, doesn't it?
Well, I find it fortunate when the synchronicities of a phone call will help an individual, or even just sending somebody a text message, or or a DM, as they call it, and just saying hello and hi and I love you and thinking of you. That little moment again, that little spark.
That little spark of light
I
starts a fire.
I do some open mic comedy every now and then, and and I'll proclaim saving the universe one giggle at a time, because just like that spark,
Yeah.
that giggle can, that can exponentially increase into a good heart belly laughter.
That laughter, what I found, is a very special, like it's an emotion or an act of an emotion that is like no other. I've witnessed a room full of people all laughing at one time, and I realised in that precious moment, there's beauty, peace, harmony, connection, like it's everything, all those things in that one moment. Everyone's united together in that laughter, and there's no animosity, there's no nothing. It's such a beautiful moment, and I don't know any other act of emotion quite like it. Have you found that?
Well,
Obviously, you would.
I have ulterior motives, and I'm kind of selfish with producing giggles, because secretly, and I'm going to let you and your listeners know secretly, I like getting people to giggle because I want to get them squirting. I want to get them squirting because when you giggle, your pineal gland secretes serotonin or dopamine, and that dopamine is like the euphoria. When you giggle and you laugh, you feel that rush of positive energy that goes through your body. And ironically, you get that same feeling when you um, smoke PPP,
Mhm.
and you also get that same experience when you have the big O. And so I love to joke that, I like people laughing because I get them squirting their pineal gland.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Share the giggles.
So the pineal gland, they look like it looks like an acorn, eh? Is that correct?
Pine cone.
A pine cone. Yeah. Um, and that's used around the world um, quite a bit that people don't realise. What do you think the significance they're showing us that, like in public, there's certain places there's that pine cone thing or the same shape. I've seen it
Well,
on.
some claim. Well, I don't say some. I mean a lot. A lot of entities claim that the pineal gland is almost set up the same as your eye. That within it has rods and cones, just like within your eyeballs, and it rotates just like an eyeball. And and ironically enough, it's the one thing that the majority of all of the additives, preservatives, and the fluorides will cause damage to the pineal gland. Fluoride actually calcifies the pineal gland, so it's not optimally operating.
Yeah,
And there's some that will claim that the pineal gland is a portal, and also it is like a transmitter and a receiver that we can, through different modalities, tap into our genetic timeline, our genealogy. We can tap into our ancestors because our composition is from our ancestors. And so to be able to tap into that genetic composition is a, a possible way of talking to your ancestors. And this is what my ancestors talk about, where you can tap into the information of your ancestors, and there's certain rituals and ceremonies to assist in that. So I think this is part of the pineal gland's availability also, is to go way beyond our normalcy of the physical body and blast out there in the spiritual metaphysical realm.
So I agree with what you said, and that would be your third eye that you're talking about, your mind's eye, the third eye, is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I figured that. Some people say their eyes shut and then one day they open and they freak out. Is their eyes shut because of the way they think or live, or do you think that there maybe is like some calcification perhaps, and then it clears and their eyes open? What do you think would happen there?
Well, I do believe that there are processes that can be done to help decalcify your pineal gland.
Yep.
One of the first things I believe to do is not to consume fluoride, for sure, which is extremely difficult considering most cities put it in their tap water. But the other thing is meditation. Meditation with your eyes closed. And from what I was taught, meditation isn't about clearing your mind, it's about focusing your mind.
Yep.
And so you focus on the challenge or the task at hand in order to find a solution to the problem, to the challenge.
I find I've never been one to sit still long enough, nese, to do that kind of thing. So I come up with this thing called moving meditation,
Right.
where my body's moving, but my mind's doing that, because it's like my body's got its own mind sometimes.
Right. Well, before I found myself in the wheelchair and stuff, I would practice yoga and I would practice meditation, and I was the same way. I had a hard time sitting still. But then when I find myself in the wheelchair, it was like, okay, now you don't have a choice.
Yeah, what a challenge.
Yeah. And it's,
okay.
Sometimes I ponder, when I look at the whole realm of my situation, I sometimes explain that the creator, or the powers that could be, or the powers of positivity, or whatever you want to label it, that they more or less said, nese, we are going to have to take away your physical form and put you in a wheelchair, because the information that we're going to share with you, if you're not more or less physically suppressed, then the anger that you will go through, you'll do something foolish.
Yeah, right, I get you.
Because the anger, not only of my sickness, but the anger of uncovering what the powers that should not be are doing, was literally killing me faster, I believe, than my illness at one time. And it got really frustrated, because when I first went down the rabbit hole, so to say, I wanted everybody to know. I wanted everybody to share, and people just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I think that's
and
a natural
reaction. And you
reaction.
can't force it upon somebody, and so it would get even more frustrated, where it's like that movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers. the old black and white one, where at the end he's running along the highway and saying, they're coming, and he's yelling and screaming, and nobody's paying attention to him, and he's just like, just trying to warn everybody. But I like my new cliche. I love cliches, and I make up some of my own, but one that I made up is, you can lead a human to wisdom, but you can't make them think.
That's right. Yeah. So true. You got to wait for them to come around to it, for them to arrive at that time. Otherwise, it won't make sense to them.
Yeah, plant a seed.
Yeah.
Plant a seed and know that you planted a seed, and acknowledge it and go on. Because if you plant the seed well enough, then it may grow into something wonderful. And that's, and if it does grow into something else, next thing you know, you'll hear this individual will come back. There is nothing I find more rewarding. I go to this outdoor festival down in southern Minnesota, and I've been doing it for practically the last 20 years. And it's where I got the nickname the Megaphone Man. And I would roll around with a megaphone, and I would try to use, joking humor to share information and knowledge or wisdom, or my wisdom. And I've had kids come up to me, and they're like, I'm 25 years old, and I've been coming to this park for the last 15 years, and I remember the first time I heard you, I'm like, what is this fool babbling on about? And then as the years progress, I would listen to you, and sometimes your words will come to me throughout my day, and they would come up and they'd say, like, I want to thank you for sharing that stuff, and that's, to me, that's wonderful. And that's where I that's where I enjoy, and I thank you for giving me this honor to share my perspective, because possibly there's one individual out there that's going to hear something you and I share, and it could be that spark. It could be that initiation of that growth, and that's all they needed, was to hear those words strung together in that way.
Yeah. We just come up on there. Are you okay to hang in there for another hour?
Yeah, certainly.
All right. I'm just need to Nature's calling. Can you hang up to the show for 2 seconds, or I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll sing the potty song.
Oh, all right. Actually, before I go, I want to shout out a little bit. I want to say good day to Brenda, Deb, ZX, Armand Adams, Jules. We had Connie earlier. Some crazy lady named Luna in there. No, that's me. Sid was in for a while. And anyone else that's watching that's not in the chat room today, and thanks for joining us. I'm going to leave you with nese for 2 seconds, and I'll be back.
All right, since nature is calling Luna, and I can't recall what kind of voice nature has, I think she'd be kind of like Julia Childs. Shoo, Luna, come use the loo. Was Julia Childs English? I don't know. But for all you young kids out there, or you parents out there that have children that are being potty trained, the potty song by nese. And you all say, yeah, I want to sing the potty song. Potty song, do you want to sing along? Yeah, I want to sing the potty song. On the potty, look at me. I push real hard so I can push out the potty. Potty song, do you want to sing along? Yeah, I want to sing the potty song. On the potty, here I sit. I push real hard so I can push out the potty. Thank you. Thank you very much. That song is copyrighted, so don't you dare try.
I'm back. Thank you, nese. So what I wanted to ask you, because you were talking about anger, and the world's all gone crazy, Wamba. A lot of people have anger issues because they don't know how to vent it because what's happening. What could you tell people to manage it? Like you've been through, obviously, what you went through was amazing, and I commend you for coming out with your heart still intact to go through what you went through. And that experience is like gold. And I'm just wondering, yeah, what can you do? Because I struggle with anger sometimes. I'm learning to get a handle on it, and every time I think I have, it pops out of nowhere. And I know that even the Dalai Lama said he gets angry and he gets like a volcano, but I never got to yarn with him, so I couldn't ask him how he manages it. So could you give us, a few ideas?
Well, I don't know if I will succeed in giving a summary as the Dalai Lama would, but I don't know
No.
if this allegory came to me through hearing it from somebody else or reading it, but it's the one that I use a lot when it comes to emotions. So if you're in a car, if you're in a vehicle, and in the back seat you have all of your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So would you rather your emotion jump up into the front seat and take control of the driver's seat and take control of the vehicle and have you in the passenger seat? Or would you rather your emotion come into the passenger seat and you keep control of the vehicle?
Yeah, that's
Because more times than not, when you let your emotions drive the vehicle, you have no idea where you're going to go.
true.
And it is unfortunate in my experience that people that make decisions in a state of emotion usually don't make a well balanced and reflected decision. So keep all phalanges inside the vehicle while in emotion.
I love that one. I so do. I love that one. Keep your hands and arms inside. Yep. That's cool. That's a
So,
really good with the emotion. Um, because sometimes you can be too avoid emotion, and that's not good either. Because you need them to ride up front with you sometimes, and then other times it takes you over, and like you said, they're the ones that are driving the emotions. So nice balance is what we're looking for. Is that what you're saying, Nathan?
well, I talk about the Holy Trinity, and I look at the Holy Trinity as positive, neutral, and negative. That's how I simplify things. And and I believe, I think, I feel that the universal struggle is finding neutrality. Where if we look at things and we break it down in that Holy Trinity, an example is like, let's say, a rock. A rock in itself is neutral. If you
Mm-hmm.
take a rock and you pound in a stake for your tent, that's positive. If you take a rock and bash in somebody's skull, that's negative. Just like your entity is neutral. However, your words and actions can be discerned and generalized as positive or negative. And it's extremely difficult to stay positive all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little easier to be neutral, and it's way too easy to be negative.
Yes, it is,
And if
isn't it? Yes.
and if you're going to have a choice in the matter, out of those three choices of state of being, what would you rather be? To me, it's a no-brainer. Of course, we'd like to be positive, but unfortunately, we can't stay positive all the time.
No.
So minimally, we want to be neutral or content. You know, and and if we look at the positive, neutral, and negative as light and dark, and if I'm in the center, I would rather turn my back to the light and face the darkness because I know the light has my back
Yeah.
when I'm facing the darkness.
Yeah, true.
Because
And
if you turn your back on the darkness, who knows if something's going to come up behind you with a brick or that
yeah,
rock.
yeah, true. Actually, the person I was talking to earlier today, that actually happened to them. They were walking along and someone come up behind them with a brick.
There's that expression, keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, that's so true. So we've got some people in the chat room, and if anyone would like to talk to Nese or ask Nese questions, I did leave the address in there for you to come in and do that, because Nese's open to that. Are you, Nese?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, if you got any questions to Nese or you want to talk to him, or tell him
Or they could
something,
just type it in the chat too.
you could do that also. Yeah, just press the link and come and join us in backstage here.
Oh, and can I promote Luna? Please, if you would, subscribe, like, and share.
Thank you, Nese, because I'd forget to do that.
Mhm.
um,
Well, before we go on, I want to give a shout out to our captain.
yeah, definitely.
Because if it wasn't for the captain, Kevin Baker, dear friend of both of ours, who 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 did the smart move or did the easy move, or I don't know, the reward. I don't know what you would call it, but he's no longer in the physical realm. And it's been a hard challenge with going through such a loss, a void that was created in my world. But if it wasn't for the captain, me and Luna would never have met. And I appreciate that so much. And my love goes out to his family and his son Kev and his mother Pearl. And thank you, Captain. You know, I just hope that he's on the beach of Speculation Island having a drink in a coconut shell and a big, huge water pipe filled with the best PPP he can find.
And I bet he's having the best time ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's right next to like Bigfoot and aliens and the black-eyed
Oh, yeah, he knows all
children.
about them now. Yeah. Actually, I want to just say something for everyone that we lost, because I've lost a few family members myself this year, and one very recently. It's been a hard time for everyone, and more so we're having this discussion about bringing your light up, because it's been tough. It's been tough on everybody what's been happening. So the conversations like this are really important, because we're here, we're living, we are going to make it. We just got to keep that light up, like you said, that spark of light. Don't let it go out. Do you want to talk a bit more about spirits?
Well, when I got sick, I got, I guess I can say I was depressed. I was, I was a cosmetologist. I was, starting to be successful in cutting hair. I was the lead singer in a band, starting to get groupies and followers and had a concrete pony, a motorcycle, and had long hair, was a pretty boy Floyd, and thought I was on top of the world. And then my illness hit me hard. And in that bumming out, falling into that negativity, I came across a saying, a phrase, and it goes, if you think you have succeeded in your mission in life, ask yourself this question: are you still alive?
Yes.
And I read that and I was so angry at the creator, because I couldn't argue that fact. I am still alive. So there must be something
That's true.
I'm supposed to do.
I've always said that myself. I say to my friends and loved ones, Don't worry, when I go back to spirit world, you know that I've come here to do the job that I was sent here to do, and it's done. But then they inform me I'm going to live for a long time, so I'm probably nowhere near it right now.
Well, and believe me, if there's a way that I can let people know beyond this physical form that there's something else, I'm going to be doing it. So if you feel somebody come up behind you and cough you on the back of the head, that may be me.
And then I'll slap you and go, no, say, that's you. Well, most of the spirits that I see that have passed over, they come back so happy, man. It's their beautiful self. I never see them like in the movies. The movies are so misleading. They're not all bloodied up or yucky looking or nothing. It's their beautiful self. And there's been a few, every time I say they were the happiest spirit I saw to move over, I always find another one that in the future that is just as happy or not even more happier. One lady though, she come back and she lost her legs and she was a dancer, and as soon as she passed over, she come over to me because her brother was here, and she's going, tell him I can dance, tell him I can dance, and she's dancing around my kitchen, and I felt really weird to say something to him because, when someone passes over, we call it sorry business. You got to be really sensitive. And she kept prompting me to say it, and I just grabbed him and I went, your sister's here and she's saying she can dance now, does that make any sense? And that's when he told me, yeah, she was a dancer, and she told me how she progressed to a wheelchair and then couldn't move, and that kind of story. Like, anyway, yeah, it was a really good thing, and she was very happy because she could dance now. Yeah. So me personally, my experiences, I just know that it's a really good place.
Well, the irony in my situation is when I was younger, I walked everywhere and I danced all the time. You couldn't get me off the dance floor. And so as I reflect on being in this wheelchair, the time that I wasn't in this wheelchair, I have danced and walked for 5 different lifetimes.
Oh, cool.
And the other irony too is when I was young, around like 4 or 5 years old, I was in the trunk of my father's car while he was doing maintenance on the vehicle, and I don't remember if it was some kind of aerosol can thing. I believe it was carburetor cleaner, and I grabbed it and I accidentally sprayed it in my eyes.
Wow.
And because my dad was working on the vehicle, it was undrivable. And so the guy across the street, Loopy was his name, he rushed us. He rushed us to the emergency room, and I was blind for like 8, 9 hours.
Wow.
And the doctors were like, well, we'll find out. It doesn't look like it was, damaged too bad. And so yeah, so like 8, 9 hours I was bandaged up and blind. And
Wow.
so it's kind of irony, and the other irony is when I was a kid, one of my favorite songs was by Alice Cooper called I'll Never Cry. And part of the chorus in that song, it says, take away my eyes. Sometimes I'd rather be blind. And this was my favorite song at like 9 or 10 years old. So
Nese, you didn't jinx yourself, did you? You didn't jinx yourself, did you, Nese?
yeah, right. maybe and at some point maybe I'll even like forgive myself and let the miracle happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I talk to him. We talk a lot about this kind of stuff. I'm trying to get him online. You should hear him. Oh, once he goes talking, you can't get a word in edgewise, but he's got some really good stuff to say. And just trying to coax him online. He's a very shy person, but we talk a lot. And I'm going to bring it to the show, try to, and I call it the Kitchen Chronicles because it always happens in the kitchen. And we talk a lot about them things. I forget what I was saying. I lost the train, Jules. I lost that train. What were we saying, Lacey? Old age is kicking in.
We were talking about the 12th vertebrae of a Paleosaurus.
Oh, that's right.
And if it really is as flexible as some claim.
No.
So, does a Paleosaurus do yoga?
I don't know. Do they meditate?
I would say they meditate. But
hey, I've got a question. I was going to do a show on this, but you're the perfect person to talk this about. Anyway, when people take a spiritual pathway, like you said, a point in your life, some people start when they're born, other people have points in their life that push them into it, and even though they're reluctant. This is what I say to people, and tell me what you think. Before you start that path, think to yourself, why do you want to be spiritual? Ask yourself, truly, are you being honourable in what you're doing, or is it because you want stuff out of it? And to really, truly ask yourself that question and then proceed. What do you think about that?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, first I'd have to say everybody is spiritual, and depending on their own experience and choice, they can either level up, I guess, for lack of a better term, or increase their spiritual existence or energy. And unfortunately, through social conditioning and the drive for the almighty dollar, there are individuals that will, I joke about my alter ego. My alter ego, I proclaim I'm a many sins man.
Mm-hmm.
And in that joking of the many sins man, I'll proclaim, for 1999, I'll be your many sins man. And and it is a sad fact that there are individuals that will use their skills to profit. And I don't have a challenge with people being rewarded for what they contribute, especially if you're helping somebody progress forward. But then it gets into that whole gray area of what do you charge for such things, and do we taint it by adding the money value, the greed aspect of it?
Yeah. I'll tell you a little story about a fella that I met. We were in the rainforest somewhere, and then someone said, go to this little cafe. So we went, me and Carl and the kids. And the fella owned it. I can't remember what religion is. They wear them orange. I think he had a thing on. It might have been something like that.
Hare Krishna.
I don't know. He was a spiritual man anyway, and they cooked vegetarian food. And I'm sitting in the car at this point watching him come out and talk to Carl. And Carl said to him, like, we were recommended here. And he said to Carl, yeah, I've heard about you. So anyway, I let the men do their business, and I'm sitting in the car, and then I'll get the motion to come in, So weird stuff happened. I might as well tell you the whole story. So I'm sitting in the car watching this happen. When I looked at the fella, he had no face, nese. I'm looking in the car, rubbing my eyes, going, is it me? Is it a window? He had no face. This is the first time I encountered this thing. And I'm looking, and I'm thinking, right, so here's a spirit with no face on the body. Okay, how do I take this? I'll just take it a step at a time. It didn't feel bad, so because we had to go in and eat, and it didn't feel bad or anything, and I had no problem going in there. And so I did, but I found out later the discussion that Carl had with this fella was about the students that he had. He had two different students and he charged them different things. He said to Carl, that fella there was a hippie looking guy and he was hard at work, running around, real simple fella, didn't have own much on his being, you know, had second-hand clothes, you know how hippie fellas look. Anyway, he said to him, how much do you charge him? And he's like, oh, I'm so, you know, really cheap, something like $5 a day or something to stay here and learn. He said, oh, yeah. And then there was another fellow who was more of a business-looking man, and he was all tidy, you know, nice haircut, nice clothes. And he goes, but that fella there, he goes, I charge him more like $100 a day. I'm thinking, what? And he said to him, the reason why is because the clean-cut fella, if he didn't charge him a lot of money, he wouldn't think that he was getting the value because it was too cheap. Whereas the hippie guy knew the value already, so we didn't really have to charge him anything, just something really basic.
Well, that I can understand, you know, and that's where it has the discernment of the individual, you know, because we should be rewarded, you know, and honored for, you know, for our I
Energy.
feel like ego,
Energy, isn't
right?
it? No, yeah. And what form it
Well,
comes.
equivalent exchange is what it's called in the whole
Yes,
alchemy world.
yes, that's it. That's it. And it can come in different forms. It can be money, it can be food. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
money. I mean, don't get me wrong. Money is very beneficial, but but which is funny because every time when somebody tells me "but," I'll say a butt is something you sit on or poop out of. But you know, um, but if I generalize money, if I step back far enough and generalize money, I would say, hey, it's more, you know, back to the Holy Trinity, positive, neutral, and negative. Generally speaking, I would say that money is right on the edge of neutrality and into the negativity.
Yeah, I feel it's a bit that way too. It could be, it's got too much emphasis on it. If it had less emphasis, it would probably be back in its rightful place.
You know? And
Yeah.
it's funny too because like if you look at the Holy Trinity that I talk about, positive, neutral, and negative, and if they're all in balance from 100%, that would mean positive is 33 and a third, and negative is 33 and a third, and and neutral is 33 and a third.
Okay, I'm adding it up in my head now, Nate, because I'm bad at maths.
Well, that's that Holy
That
Trinity, the
99,
triangle.
999 or something like that.
Yeah.
666.
Yeah. So the 33rd and a third, it comes out to 99.99
Yeah, right.
because there is no absolute. And you gotta
Yeah.
have a little wiggle room for the lines between the neutral and positive and negative.
Um,
At some point, we can in the future we can do like a Platonic solids and go into Platonic solids because when you look at Platonic solids and the triangle is a representation of a pyramid, the true pyramid, which is four-sided and not five sides. But that in itself, there's esoteric and that. So when we're doing what we do, you know, hopefully we find the balance, the neutrality more so, because when we go back and forth in the oscillation of positive and negative, we're taking from something or we're giving to something, and that's causing a disruption to someone depending on their perspective of the whole. And so is it best to be content and balanced and neutral because then it's just, to me, it's easier. It's easier to go through life in contentness than trying to be positive all the time. And I really don't like being negative.
No, I don't either. Bad things come from it. I see the energy of it. The negativity starts to swirl around, and then it attracts chaos, and chaos joins in. And once chaos joins in, it's really hard to contain after that. But if you can hit it when it's first coming out, you can dissipate it. But that's how I see it. It creates like this whirlwind thing, and it gets more and more velocity, and the person gets more worked up, or the people get more worked up, depending on the situation. And then chaos, it attracts chaos wherever chaos is hiding at the time. And chaos joins in, and that's it. Either the bouncers come out, the police are called, or everyone gets kicked out of the house, whatever the situation. And if it's happening inside yourself, because these things happen inside ourselves, the anger, the chaos.
Well, a good metaphor when it comes to animals, as my people, we utilize the teaching of animals to help us deal with challenges in life. And I'll talk about the bison, the great northern bison. When a herd of bison find themselves within a storm, they turn into the storm and they start walking through it because they know if they just stand still, they're going to have to just stand still within the whole storm. But if they walk into the storm, they're going to get through it quicker than just standing still. And so sometimes when you're going into the darkness, when you're going into the chaos, you just got to put your head down and just find that motivation and turn it into a dive.
Yeah, sometimes you don't come out straight away. It's a bit of a wander. Yeah, and is that why the bison have all the hair in the big like mane?
Yep.
And that shields their back. Well, it keep them warm also because they sort of hang.
And then if you look at the way that they're structured, that they're really big and thick in the front, and they're thinner in the back.
Yeah,
and
they are.
So when they like stack together and they fit.
Yeah,
So
right.
if you think of two bisons, side by side, their front part is all thick, and then their back part there's like a little hole to where the next bison, the next level or layer of bison can kind of scrunch up into that gap between the two bison.
Yeah.
And they do this, and they have this great protection circle where the big male, the bulls, they're all up in front, and then they have the 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 heifers. I guess I'm trying to think if they're the same as cows, but the heifers would be the next layer, and then all the babies would be in between. So imagine in a herd of 1,000 bison, if it's like freezing cold, the inside of that herd is probably pretty darn warm.
It would be, and shielded from the wind.
Yep, where all the babies would be.
We could learn a lot from that.
Right.
I was going to make a kind of joke and go, so if it's thicker at one end than it is the other, what part's the best to eat?
The mignon.
And then I'm thinking about bison talking about humans and going, yeah, if you line up the humans and they bend their knees, they kind of call it spooning, and they all fit in together. That's my imagination.
But the question is, are you the big spoon or the little spoon?
Spoon. And can we go around in a circle, or do we stack up the lunch?
And although out in the winter it's good for people to spoon each other to stay warm, but some people may have challenges depending on the self-labeling of genders and spooning.
Oh, yeah. We won't worry about that. Let's get into something good. I know. I wanted to ask you a question. We're driving around the corner now. We're going a whole different direction.
Yeah, for 1999, I'll give you an answer.
Oh, right. Inflation, blah, 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 it's $29.99 now.
Well, you get that Australia discount, though.
No. Serpent Mound. What is it? What's in it?
Serpent Mound.
Serpent Mounds.
What are you talking about?
Serpent Mounds? Oh, you're going to pick on my
serpent
accent,
mound?
aren't you? You're picking on my accent.
The
All
serpent
right,
mound, the snake mound,
yeah.
the largest known snake effigy in the world in the Ohio River Valley
Yep.
that my ancestors proclaimed they built. Part of the whole like mound builders. Yeah, it was a incredible place of ceremony that the argument is some believe it's over 20,000 years old, but that is a conflict with the Bering Straits theory, and so it can't be true. Because all the Native Americans came across the Bering Straits because it was a one-way sign, and there was only one way you could have crossed the Bering Straits. You couldn't have gone the other way. You only had to go one way.
Yeah.
Which I find hard to believe, because if they were coming from Europe and going east, more times than not, I would think individuals would follow the sun and head towards where the sun sets in the west to see where it's going, more so than seeing where the sun came from.
What happens if they're following the stars?
Well, which is very beneficial at night traveling. But I would also assume way back in the day, traveling at night was not the safest way to travel with all of the critters.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because there were strange things back around them days.
Oh, there was. Well, my people, we talk about the giant sea otter. We talk about the giant beaver. We talk about a time when a beaver was over 5 feet tall.
Yeah, we had animals. We got animals like that. Kangaroo, all of them. All the animals we got here today were big ones.
Well, this is one of the challenges that I have with sportsman hunting. Because people want to go and get a trophy animal, and so they want to kill the biggest animal. And look, and they're like, look at how big that was. And if we continue to kill the biggest animal of all the animals, then naturally the animals are just going to get smaller and smaller in size.
Yeah, because you're killing them off. Yeah, it's like, yeah. Oh, that was.
It's like what happened to I proclaim that my ancestors were the fabled giants of Europe.
I was going to get into that next, but you're going along the right lines. Yes.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I love it when you get giggly as a schoolgirl when giants are brought up.
Because I'm so tiny. I know.
Well, unfortunately or fortunately, in your status, vertically, everyone's a giant.
Vertically challenged. I actually, you know how they say these days, weight check. What is it? What's it called? A weight relationship. Something about what is it called? Yeah, it's something about a big person and a little person being together in weight wise. But I said to Carl, is there a word for the tall person and the little tiny person like we are? Vertically challenged couple. Well, that's what giants. So yeah, I love giants. And I was going to ask you, that was my question about the serpent mounds and the giants, because I want you to clarify something for me, please, brother. Some people think that there's giants buried in the serpent mounds.
Well, in the serpent mound, I would argue no. However, in some of the mounds, in the excavation of some of these mounds, they have found extremely tall people. However, like I was going to say, um, when you look at the earliest writings of the explorers of North America, I can't remember. I think it was Vespucci that he had a book or a publication that was called The Land of the Giants. And in Europe, the average height in Europe was 5'2".
Mhm.
And in this individual's writings, he talked about meeting my ancestors, and he was saying that the women were practically twice the size of them,
Wow.
and that the men were even taller than the women. You know, and I'm almost 6 foot tall when you stretch me out, about
Yeah.
3'11" in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
But when you look and you see some hardcore natives, they're some big
Oh,
boys.
they are. The friends that I know and have met, they're really big. I always look up as like, wow. I call them my giant friends. And we have, in my culture, we have stories about giants as well. And there's a place, me and Donnie were talking about this yesterday, a place where they call it the Giants Campground. Um, and yeah, tell us more about your people and the Giants, Nathan.
Well, and this is where before I had that frog stuck in my throat earlier
Yep,
when we were talking about the etymology of the word Anishinaabe,
yep.
where its meaning is when the spirit was brought down to the earth, Aki. Now, if you familiarize yourself with the word Anunnaki
Yeah,
and you look at the etymology of that word,
yeah,
its definition is when the species or the man was brought down to the earth.
right.
And then if you think of them in sounding syllabically, Anishinaabe, Anunnaki, they like they like meet. The syllabical,
Yeah.
they meet. They sound very similar. Anunnaki, Anishinaabe.
Actually,
And then
yeah.
even
Okay, sorry.
even when you look at like the transition of K and the letter B at the end, Anunnaki, Anunnaki, Anishinaabe. The K and the B, if I recall properly, they were either near each other or mixed interchangeable. But my people, we didn't have letters. We had symbols, pictographs, petroglyphs, I guess you could call them, and like one little symbol or one little dot or something will have a whole elaborate story to it.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the territory of the Anishinaabe people, it's pretty much from Plymouth Rock all the way over east to the Mississippi, and then north along the Mississippi, and then after the headwaters of the Mississippi, west into Canada. So literally 1/3 of North America was the territory of the Anishinaabe people. So it would be basically like if we went in and wiped out France, that's what happened to the Anishinaabe people. They were practically wiped out of existence.
Wow.
And then even if you look at the historical um, teachings or education of the Native Americans, they talk about the 5 civilized tribes and the Iroquois Confederacy. Well, that was other tribes making a making a treaty with each other, saying if the Anishinaabe tried to flex their muscle and increase their territory, we're going to come together as tribes and hold them back. Because individually, the tribes, they couldn't stop us.
So what happened to your large people, the giant people? Did they die? Did they go somewhere else?
The rule was, with the earlier explorers, to have intercourse with as many Native Americans as possible so they can literally screw the height out of our people.
Oh,
Also, people don't realize that the Europeans have been in America forever.
yeah.
You know, that if you look at Christopher Columbus, and historically his partner's father was one of the keeper of, of oceanic maps.
Is he true, that fella?
Christopher Columbus?
Yeah,
Well,
because we got Captain Cook and he was
right.
full of BS, right? So I'm asking, you got this fella, Christopher Columbus, is he like Captain Cook or is he rigid and fair dinkum?
Well, his name wasn't even Christopher Columbus until after he went back to Spain.
See, right.
Yeah. And then if you look at the whole iconography or symbolism of the word Columbus or Columbine, Columbian pictures, it's really interesting in that aspect. But historically, when the plagues were happening in Europe, what they were doing is taking all of the plague bodies and putting them on decommissioned ships. This means ships that are so old they're like, let's just bring them out to sea and we'll start them on fire and scuttlebutt them. Ships. This means ships that are so old they're like, let's just bring them out to sea and we'll start them on fire and scuttlebutt them.
Jules, we got echoing. Jules wants to ask you a question, they say, but finish what you're saying.
Oh, I'm hearing echo.
Jules wants to ask you a question, Jules? Say, but finish what you're saying.
Tell Jules to mute up, maybe, if she's on the call.
I muted. Yeah, she's muted. Okay.
But,
sorry about that. Say.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
But people don't realize that when the plagues were happening in Europe, that they took all of the dead bodies and they'd put them on these ships and they would push them off into the ocean, and then they would just float on the ocean, hit the transatlantic current, and then they would crash upon the eastern shores of North America. The Native Americans, inquisitive, would go and check out the boats and find all these dead bodies of plague, and they would get infected. And then they would bring the disease back to the people, and this wiped out over 80% of the population of Native Americans.
Wow.
Before Plymouth Rock and the Pilgrims.
Yeah, right. The real true history, see, is what we're here for. Well, we've got Jules here, and she's come to ask you a question, they say, so we're gonna unmute her, and she's gonna fire a question at her. If you're ready, get set, go.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Jules. Welcome to the day.
Welcome to your evening.
Yay. How are you?
So I am good. I am not going to ask one single question. I came on just because I think this is fantastic, and it brings me so much joy to see two of my friends just mucking about and enjoying time together. So I just wanted to come on and say, this is awesome. I'm so glad you decided to do this, Luna, and I look forward to having more mornings before I ease into work spent with friends to round my day out. So like I'm saying, I think Buzz has a question, and maybe he will click the link and come right on in. But I just wanted to come in and say, I love you, Luna. I love you, nese, and you got a good thing going here. And everybody in chat, I love you too. And if nobody's told you today, you are special and you are loved.
Oh, thank you, Jules, and we love you too, darling.
Yeah, I love you, Jules. Have a have a wonderful experience as you get ready for work, and hopefully you'll find giggles abundantly throughout your day.
Absolutely. It's my goal.
Share them when you can.
I will, but I'm going to jet, but I love you guys.
Thank
All
you.
right,
See ya.
toodles.
And yeah, Buzz, feel free to jump in and ask a question. And we got Polly's joined us. Hey, Polly, how you going? We got Brenda Mitchell. How you going, Brenda? Deb. Who have I missed? And Bernays. We got Bernays has joined us. Yeah, thank you, everyone. So where were we, Nese? We're going to let
The
Buzz in.
plagues.
That's where we are. Yeah, he's going to ask you a question. Here he is. Okay, Buzz, you're in.
Hello, Luna. Hello, Nese.
G'day, Buzz. Welcome and good to see you. And I don't know, is it morning there? Welcome to the day.
It's afternoon. It's 3:52.
Then good afternoon, these two.
I'm
So,
trying
Buzz,
to
I got a
start a new
question for you
scene.
first.
Sorry?
I said I got a question for you first.
Oh, go on then.
Are you feeling groovy, baby?
Oh, yeah. Groovy.
Feeling a little randy, are you?
No, not Randy. No. I'm getting
offense,
too old
Randy.
for that.
Randy's feeling
Okay.
upset because nobody's feeling him anymore.
So you got a question, Buzz, for Nose?
Yes, I do actually. Do you really think that there's a possibility that Bigfoot could actually be the smaller of the giants that escaped the war and went wild to stay hidden?
Nice one. My ancestors, we talk about Bigfoot as a relative of the forest. That let's see if I can remember the Pagwaji is one of the words that we use for the relatives in the forest, and that we have many stories of dealing and having experiences with the entity known as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And one of the things to know is that just like we have the full spectrums of humans, so is the same with the Bigfoot or the Sasquatch. You have some that are really easily able to tolerate silly humans, and there's some that want absolutely nothing to do with us. And unfortunately, I'm hoping that those Sasquatch that don't like humans, that they don't only like us because we taste like chicken.
Why does everything taste like chicken?
Are you saying they say that you think some of the hairy men are cannibals?
Oh, absolutely.
Or would they if they're eating us, are they cannibals?
Well, no, I guess they would be considered cannibals if they ate us. I guess they'd be called scratchables. Scratchables if they ate each other. But yeah, I mean the really interesting thing about the Sasquatch entity is the many different names it has and the many different continents it can be found on. So we can speculate, make assumptions, and theorize what they are. But my hat's off to them, and I can kind of understand why they would not want to make their presence known. Because what do we do as silly humans when we find something new and strange? We dissect it and rip it apart and wonder how it works.
Yeah, it's a shame we can't actually kill the bloodlust for killing.
Absolutely.
I mean, that would make the whole world a better place, I feel. I mean, it's mankind's ego, but at the same time, it's to be expected, I suppose. When you got the balance of it all, You know, you got young and old souls, so it's a case of you're going to have some that are making the mistakes. They're going to be the younger ones. The older ones are going to have the wisdom that they share, that the younger souls are going to learn and, you know, not make the same mistakes again. It's all part and parcel of the balance, but ego itself is a necessary factor to know self. You know, it's the controlling of ego that is so difficult. Because at the
Absolutely.
end of the day, we are our worst enemies.
Well, you know, if you look at the etymology of the word shaitan, one of the descriptives of it is one's own darkness. And so the constant battle is for us individually to get beyond our negativity. And as I stated before, of that, you know, Holy Trinity, you know, we need the full spectrum to help denote our place within the spectrum. You know, because if we didn't have negativity, we wouldn't know positivity, and vice versa. You know, just like you can have love without the dichotomy of fear and everything in between. You know, and finding that balance is the most simplex, as Ken Wilder says, challenge that we have. You know, because we as, and I don't even, lately I've been proclaiming I'm not human. And the minute that humans generally become more humane, then I'll proclaim again to be human. But if it's coming down to a label, you know, of course, the first one I'm going to pick is nese, and then eventually Anishinaabe, and all the other labels we can have discernment, and we'll see if I can check that box or not. But to witness the full spectrum, where there's going to be people being positive and people being negative and people being content, and hopefully we have the strength within love without fear to assist in negative to be transmuted into positive or minimally neutralized.
Nice. I've got two things to say for this. I'm going to interrupt. One, I've got a little poem about the black and white inside of us, puzzle like this. It goes, "Thy art thy own worst enemy, a force of black and white, so should live in harmony the hands of left and right." So that's my little poem. And
I'm sure Buzz has one on him.
I'll bet you Buzz has. You hit one, Buzz, and then I'll go with my second thing. You got a poem for us, Buzz? And don't do that one, because you make me blush, and it's like, sorry.
Did I put you on the spot there, Buzz? Sorry.
You don't want that one, no?
No, I love it. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I already blushed one.
Let's see. What could I do? How about my tribute to Kev?
Oh, that'd be beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Right, I'm just there it is. Tribute to a friend. It does not feel real, and the pain does not end, and your heart cries out that you lost a true friend, someone that you will miss, a daily part of your life, a light in the darkness through the trouble and strife. With a laugh and a story, Kev Baker would shine, a proud Scottish voice whose tales would entwine. Forgetting your sorrows or woes for the day, Kev's tales and adventures took you far away. With a smile and a joke and friends gathered round, Kev Baker blessed all with his honesty and love that he had found.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Nice.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Thank you.
So what I wanted to say was what you were saying before, Nese. I think, you know how we progress. We come back and live lives, and we were talking the other day about how you can be a bird, a dog, a cat, something, and then you progress to a human. And what you were saying about before, that's probably why it's like that, because you need to progress to cope with what's happening and learn it properly. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, we were discussing about the feasibility or the possibility of reincarnation, and I can only speculate and assume. I have my experiences that I feel, think, or believe that I can put it into the realms of reincarnation. But one thing that I was reading in Madame Blavatsky, Helena Blavatsky's book, um, uh, which one was it? Um, I can't remember. She has a few books, and they're really good. If you take it with a grain of salt, of course. But she talks about in reincarnation in the cycle, when we first come back, we basically come back as like a single cell organism. And then we come back as a more complex organism. And then we come back as like a plant. And then after coming back as a plant, we come back as like an insect. And then from an insect, we come back as like the fish or the mammals. And then the next, we come back as man. And then when we pass on as man, we go back to the source. And some claim we make a choice at that point of remaining with the source or starting the whole realm again and coming back as a single cell amoeba or fungus or virus or bacteria or whatever, and we go through that progression again. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I I I myself will if I can choose to come back many times over and over if I am able to assist somebody find the light or find the positivity, because I don't think there's much more that can prove how we have evolved as a species than when we help each other. And we know that our physical composition cannot survive on its own in the wilderness. We are physically flawed. We're not like animals that have fur or the other modalities of survival in the wilderness. So we collectively can survive, and we need each other to survive. Especially if we look at that whole, to perpetuate the species, we need what was once labeled the gender of a man and a woman, to perpetuate the species. So we are a communal people. And so when we work together, we find ourselves more successful. And so, ask of me. And if I can help, I'm willing to do what I can offer. Wookie Foot, a favorite band of mine, they have this good expression where you give what you can and you take what you need.
So I had a question for you, nese. While you're in that process of evolving, where does the darkness and light play in, like what being as different species? What would you learn? What do you think you'd learn about the darkness and the light?
Well, that's good if we reflect on like a snake. And a snake in its survival has to eat what it eats. So is that a negative thing? If a snake strikes something and eats it for its survival, because that's what most animals do, most birds do, most fish do. They live to survive or they live to live. Where we as humans, we don't we don't have that same concept of living. So is it wrong in the circle of life that a animal will eat another animal. Of course, it's not the best thing for the animal that gets eaten, but it is that circle of life. And let's be thankful that most of the extraterrestrials out there, we don't taste like chicken.
What do we taste like?
That I do not know.
Does anyone know? Is there anything else you want to ask, Buzz, or anything you want to?
Well, what nese was saying reminded me of an old story. It's the grandfather telling the young and the story of the two wolves, the dark wolf and the light wolf within. And he says to the granddad, which one wins? And the granddad says, whichever one you feed the most. But at the same time, there's people don't actually recognise the other factor, which nese also pointed out. But when they hear that story, they don't always look at it, which is wolves run in packs. And if you've got two wolves inside you, then it doesn't matter which wolf gets attacked, they both defend.
Exactly.
That is so true, Buzz. That is so true. That's a
Good
really
observation.
It is. It's a good way of looking at it. I
But
looked at
that
it.
also shows an internal message of community, unity, and all the rest of it, meaning that, you know, we can rely on ourselves, but at the same time, we're stronger together. It's a sign within us, you know, that we're stronger together.
Absolutely. And I love words. And if you look at that word you just brought up, come unity. Come unity. Unity,
together.
come unity. Over me.
Doom, doom, chibby, doom.
Yeah, community. Yeah, I've worked in community. It's not that easy. There's a lot of people
Here
out
come old flat top he got. Oh, you got me going, Buzz.
there. Go on, if you want to sing. We're at the 2-hour mark. I think I've got an hour left of time. So, yeah, if anyone else wants to ask a question, we can jump them in. If not, go ahead and sing, you fellas.
Oh, I'm okay.
You're okay? Okay.
But now that you gave me permission, don't be surprised if something is said that brings a lyric to mind, and
that's okay. That's okay.
I'll whip it out.
Bash it out there. Yeah. So can we go back to giants? Well, thank you for clearing up the serpent mound thing for me, nese. And
yeah, in the future we should do a whole show on the serpent mound, because that in itself is a really good topic that easily we could do a couple hours on.
Yeah, well, okay. We can
I'll come back, Luna, for you, my dear.
Because we're going to have, I'd like nese to come like on a permanent thing, not all the time, because he's got his own life, obviously. But as a regular, and when he comes back, have the show like this. If you want to ask nese a question, we'll put you in and you can ask nese a question. And any of my guests that I bring on, if they're open to questions, some people will be shy, obviously. I'll come on and ask them a question.
Or we could do the nese challenge.
What's that, nese?
That's when somebody calls in and they say, "Okay, I want blind truth."
Oh, we can do blind truth, yeah. I like that.
And then you get 4 minutes and 44 seconds. And see if you can handle the blind truth with nese.
All right, what do you reckon, Buzz? You want to give it a shot?
Oh,
what's that about? What's that about? Explain, please.
Oh, it's an experience. There is no explanation, Buzz. Either you jump in blind like nese.
You see, the problem with me is I have a habit of not lying.
Same.
Because I was brought up by me grandparents who were both military, and you don't lie, or you get the soap in the mouth.
Yeah, I was saying you've got to be honest. And you know what, Buzz? For people that are on a spiritual path, you have to be honest and truthful and all those things, because it's just the way you're supposed to live. It's a proper.
Well, I look at it also as the more you lie to others, the more you're practicing lying to yourself. The easier you make it to lie to yourself because of how much practice you have lying to others. It's like, why do that to yourself? Everything
Absolutely.
is that ripple in the pond. Eventually, that ripple will bounce back to you. So why do that to yourself?
You know, you bring me back to a memory when you said about lying and getting a bar of soap in your mouth. That Christmas morning, and I apologize for any children that are listening, when I came to the stark truth of Santa Claus, and I actually call it Santa Claus syndrome, and I'm going to digress and share the story. So I told my parents I'm going to stay up all night and I'm going to experience Santa Claus, and my dad was like, "Go ahead," you know, him thinking that I would fall asleep at some point. So I stayed up all night waiting for Santa Claus. But while I was awake, I ate an entire bag of oranges. And if anybody has experienced a lot of oranges, after a certain point, your body says, "Hey, let it go." And so I'm clenching because dawn is peaking. And I'm bouncing and pacing and clenching. And finally, I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's enough dawn, the morning sun. There's no Santa. I'm going to go to the bathroom. So I run into the bathroom. The minute I shut the door, get on the toilet, and having that horrible experience, next thing you know, I hear this, ho, ho, ho. And I'm thinking, no, no, no. And so I'm trying to clench it off and get out of the bathroom. So I rush out of the bathroom, and there's my father. He's all like, "You just missed him." And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Look out the front window." And I went to the front window, and on our sidewalk outside the front window were two brand new 10-speed bicycles. And I was so excited. I went and woke up my older brother, and I'm like, "Santa Claus came. He's real." And so we run outside. We go and find our bikes, and we're all excited looking at our bikes. And then I look at the ground, and there was a fresh covering of snow. And if you follow the snow and the tracks in the snow, you see a pair of large boots and the wheels of these 10-speed bicycles coming out of our garage. And from the garage, footprints coming back and forth from the house. And so I go storming into the house. As soon as I walk into the house, I look on the floor next to the door where you're supposed to put your wet snow boots on the plastic pad. And sure enough, there was my dad's boots with water all over them. And I looked up at my dad, and he has this grin on his face. And then I just said, "You lied. And I went off on my father. And the reason it brought up what you said about the bar of soap is because I yelled at my father. I said, "When we lie to you, you make us sit on the edge of the tub with a bar of soap in our mouth. And you've been lying all of this time about Santa Claus?" And that was the day when I realized I cannot trust adults.
So you don't trust yourself now? Is that what you're saying, Nese?
Well, I'm not going to proclaim to be an adult.
Cool.
I would rather be a child acting like an adult than an adult acting like a child.
So we have Malia here. Malia, are you here to ask a question, or are you here for the tree? Oh, she's left. Oh, she got cut out. Well, she might come back. Hang on. I was going to ask her, is she here for the blind truth with Nese, or is she here to ask a question? But she got cut off. So, okay. Actually, we use soap to wash out our kids' mouths when they swore, said a bad word. And one of my sons, when he was young, we did that to him, and Dad took him into the bathroom, put soap in his mouth, and we just laughed our head off because he goes, you know, that tastes all right. And we thought, how are we going to punish you if you think it's nice?
Well,
So it didn't work.
There was one time when I lied to my children, and I didn't tell them that we were going to an amusement park. And I lied to them saying that we were going to do something else. And then we pull into the amusement park, and they're all happy and stuff. And then when we get back home, I said, okay, I have to confess, I lied to you guys. And technically the rule is if someone lies in the house, they get a bar of soap in their mouth. So I am willing to put a bar of soap in my mouth if you guys are going to hold me accountable to that lie. And thankfully enough, they said it was okay, and I didn't have to put the bar of soap in my mouth. But I was willing.
So we got Malia. Malia's back. I was going to ask you, Malia, are you here to ask Nese a question, or are you here for blind truth with Nese?
Blind truth.
Okay, we're going to test it out. Next time we come back, we're going to be doing that. Also,
you can't handle the blind truth.
All right, this segment is blind truth with Nese. Okay, you two, go for it.
You got your timer, 4 minutes and 44 seconds.
4 minutes and 44 seconds. Okay.
And wait, I get to ask him whatever question.
No.
What?
No.
All right, I got a timer. Hang on.
No, what? I'm in control now.
Okay, do it.
You ready?
Yeah.
Hang on,
okay, so Malaya, is that what you refer to be called or prefer to be called to?
On the YouTubes.
Okay, what is it that you need?
Peace.
A piece of what?
No, P-E-A-C-E.
A piece. Okay, so you need peace, or do you need food, shelter, and clothing of Maslow's hierarchy?
Fire and water.
Okay,
Fire.
But do you have adequate food?
Yes.
Do you have adequate clothing?
Yes.
Do you have adequate shelter?
Yes.
Okay, then do you have adequate financial means to accomplish those basic needs?
Yes.
Okay, so then what else is it that you need and not want?
Fire.
Well, that's too simple to do. Give me something that's a challenge.
Well, you went with food, clothing, and shelter, so I was just ending it with fire and water because I have water.
Precious moments, 4 minutes and 44 seconds. What can we accomplish for the betterment of the universe? What is it that you need? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Time.
Tick tock. Oh, absolutely, because money comes and goes. Money comes and goes. Money comes and goes. But when you lose time, it never returns. And until they release the time machine mechanism, then we're stuck with it. So how do you find time?
Planning.
Because you never fail, or excuse me, you never plan to fail. You only fail to plan. So time management is one of the biggest challenges that we have as
we were just talking about
individuals.
that this morning. Yeah.
Yes. So unfortunately, in the system that we're in, there is the tick-tock and the individuals that count, and they count it a second, a minute, an hour, a day. And we're caught up within that struggle. So time management is absolutely beneficial, but the challenge is, what I believe, not to get caught up in the accuracy of every second counted, but managing your time so you can accomplish the things that you need over the things that you want. And once that you fulfill your needs, is it selfish of us to pursue our wants, or could we find others that still need their basic needs fulfilled?
I would like the second part. because that really circles it around to the beginning of fulfilling your own needs, because that which you give out comes back.
Absolutely.
And
And
you go to refresh someone, you become refreshed.
And we've all experienced it before, that when we are looking for something, it is much easier to find it when others join us in the process. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about how we are community entities. And so that being said, the White Earth Reservation of northern Minnesota, let's all have a mass exodus to the res, and we'll see what we can do as a community.
Yeah.
How many seconds does she have left?
3, 2, 1. No, I have 1 minute left. Actually, I have 30 seconds left, so we can get to 2:21.
Okay, so what is your goal for this day to do something positive for universe?
Buy some hangers. Hangers.
Sweet. And if I may suggest, wooden hangers or wire hangers, and not plastic hangers, of course, unless they're made out of the cannabis
I
cellulose.
totally agree. Hangers big enough to hang airplanes.
No more wire hangers.
Wire, built of wire. 10.
Luna, what's the time say?
Time is up.
Yeah, you got just a few more seconds left.
Anything else real quick there?
Toodles, giggles.
And that's it. That was all. That was cool for your first Blind Truth with Nese. Thank you for participating, Malia.
Yeah. Do I get to jump out like a rabbit and say bye?
No, you can hang in.
It's a little difficult to do Blind Truth with someone you know.
I know, but it was good practice.
But it was good timing because I was jumping in blind. So
Yeah.
Oh, rub it in. Thanks.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, Buzz, if you want to play, you can go too.
Yeah, Buzz. Hi, Buzz.
Anyone want to play? Jump in.
Do I get a groovy? Or poem?
Groovy.
I'll smoke to that.
Instead of the game, could I instead recite another poem?
You sure can, because we got just over half an hour left, I think, of time left, and it's just going to cut out on us. So we're going to use that up doing whatever. When it does cut out on us, I just want you to know, thank you for coming, thank you for watching and listening, thank you everyone on panel, and love to you on this day, and we'll see you next time again, and when we do Blind Truth with Nese. So keep going, because we'll just use up the rest of the time. That was just in case I cut out before I get to say that. So
Thank you.
Hit us with it.
Thank you. This is called The Beast Inside. The thing within us all that most of us try to hide is actually a part of us we call the beast inside. It lives within the depths of us until it's called to bear. But that's what scares the most of us. The beast just does not care. Although it has a heart and may save our very lives, it can take control and test our soul. In the weak it truly thrives. The strong will always master it. They feel the truth the most. The beast can never show its face without a willing host.
Wow. Wow.
Nice.
I love your poems. I love your poems, Buzz.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, Buzz. I actually want to talk about that, because when I talk to people, I talk about our dark side and what we're supposed to do with it, what's it for. I've had conversations with Nese. For me personally, when I was young, I didn't think I had one. And I thought everything was sweet roses and butterflies and perfume, and raising your voice was an act of violence, and I was oh so natural and peaceful. And then one day this chick come out of nowhere, and she was like this much taller than me, started arguing with me, and then went whack. And all I remember, you know, in the cartoons when someone gets hit on the head and they go boing, that's exactly what happened. I remember thinking, this is like a cartoon. And my head's going boing. And then all of a sudden, this part of me that I didn't know exists jumped forward and somehow I got this really tall girl down on the ground, and people were pulling me off, and I had to like come to. It felt like I had to come to because I wasn't in control of what was going on. When I recovered from that, I went, oh my God, I never even knew. I'm looking at myself like, where did that come from? Then I realised what it was, and I thought, well, I've got to harness you. So I went and found some really good people, and I learned martial arts. And that's how I learned to control my dark side. And now it serves me. I like to think that anyway. So that's my story. Someone else?
Well, the
I'm still
willing host bit, I think, was important there because, you know, and until that situation occurs to create that willing host, of course, you're not going to know that it does exist. But as soon as you know that it exists, then you have the choice of whether you become that willing host the next time. Sorry, Nese, you were saying, sorry.
Well, I
I
totally
was just
agree.
gonna
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to apologize for that electronic interference there. That was my nerd alarm, and I set it off.
Actually, no, it was my alarm, Nese, on my phone. That was the timer thing. It reset and went off again. Unless yours went off at the same time. That's my chair, by the way. I got it.
Oh, good. I thought I was setting off my nerd alarm again.
Oh, no. All right. So, did someone want to reply to what I said in Buzz's poem?
Yeah, just that's it. Really does come down to once you experience the experience, nobody can take that truth away from the sight of your both spiritual or physical eyes. So once you know something like that, you know it, and you have that decision whether you're going to repeat the same steps that brought about the event of choosing which side you're on. So yeah, I think it's totally relevant, and I think it's very, very good point to bring up.
Especially in the now that we live in, where they're pushing so much confusion, because one of the problems with confusion is it causes people to do the one thing that scares people the most, and that's lose self-control.
Exactly. And what is the one thing that any militia or military, any organized discipline of fighting teach you is that internal control, no matter how leveled you get to in the fight, no matter how far, if it's coming to the death or whatever, in any kind of militia discipline, it's that interior self-control of rage, which makes you a greater fighter, I found.
Yeah, I found stay in peace. And I've said this before in conversations, like when you're walking through the bush, you've got to stay centered and calm, because if you panic or run in fear, worse things happen. The same when you face an opponent. If you're angry or you've got revenge or anything like that, you're not going to fight properly because your mind's captured in this little round thing instead of being open so you can see every move that's coming from your peripheral vision and around. And if you use your third eye, that's me again. I turn that off. I can't stop it now. Even if you use your third eye to what's behind you, because you can go that far. The alarms made me forget what I was saying now. So anyone else want to?
Yeah, totally. Your spiritual eye is very relative. Your third eye is very relative to seeing what is around you, behind you, in the perception. Even in the marching world, when you're learning marching band and to play an instrument, that's a discipline as well. So that order is to be able to see to the points of all the way back into here, into the behind your head area, so that you are using your ears, your senses, all that thing without you, with around you in a 6-foot distance, to see and have sight. And that can be extended. I think it's what we call remote viewing, even further. So continuing on, I totally agree.
Yeah, it is. I was going to ask nese actually, because you were talking about the third eye earlier, and I imagine they say that you can do that quite easily because you haven't got your eyes to trick you. Excuse me.
Oh, not that quick on the mute button on this one. But, well, as we talked about earlier, I think everybody has the potential of their senses beyond the 5 normal, sight, sound, taste, touch. And, wait, what did I forget? Sight, sound, taste, touch,
Hearing.
smell.
Hearing and smell.
Yeah. So, yeah, beyond those 5, where we have that metaphysical aspect, that 6th sense, that everybody has the potential of honing or growing or mastering. Just like Malia was talking earlier about, the discipline of marching. Practice makes perfect. So when you start recognizing your own talents, I strongly encourage people to, practice them, utilize them, get a journal and start writing down the experiences of your 6th sense. Whether it be, I strongly believe that people can use mental telepathy. I even believe that people can use telekinesis. But unfortunately, because of the social conditioning by the powers that should not be, MK Ultra, behavior modification, and mind control, we've basically have been assimilated into good little citizens instead of witnessing the full potential that we have within the realm of experience. And this is slowly conditioned as a child, because if you notice that children are more likely to experience the metaphysical realm, but then as adults, in my experience, when I would try to share things with my father, he was like, oh, there's nothing there, to the point of where I no longer could see things, but I still can sense things. And, literally now I can't see things, but, it's funny. Me and my children, we enjoy scaring each other. And you would think that scaring a blind man is fairly easy. But more times than not, when my daughters, and now if my daughter's listening, she's going to test this and try to scare me later today. But they would try to sneak up on me, and I would just be like, what do you want? And they'd be like, how do you know? And it's like Malia was saying, when you get into a tune with yourself, like a radio transmitter and receiver, you can receive the presence of another entity as they come closer to you.
Oh, we lost Millie. She's back. Yeah, when we did training, it's all right. When we did training, we had to be blindfolded and detect where the person was coming from. I don't know how good I did because I was blindfolded and no one gave me any feedback. So I'd like to think I did all right. But that same technique as Melissa can be used as remote viewing if it's spread out far enough and it's strong enough. Have any of you tried that before? I know Malia has because she brought it up, obviously.
Yeah, but yeah.
Nese, Buzz, you ever done any remote viewing?
Sorry, I was muted again.
Would you like another poem?
About remote viewing?
Kind of and not.
Okay.
It's see, I like the old Star Wars idea of the Force.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
stretch out your feelings, Luke.
Very
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I agree. I like the
So-
train of thought you're going in.
So I wrote a little while back a poem called "Feel It." You know, not any joke against Michael Jackson and the song, but this is it. I feel a pull, an urge to sleep, a tiredness in my being does creep, a desire to be in another place, for some mission, some task in some wider space, to fix something broken or to right a wrong, but not with a sword, instead with a song. For a song resonates and can even change hearts, an idea, a feeling, that's where it all starts. Doubting decisions, checking them twice, asking yourself, was I sugar or spice? The song echoes on, and more questions arise, so that truth can awaken and break down the lies. For answers can start understanding and healing, and bring balance to those brought back home to feeling.
I like it. I like it. Thank you, Buzz. We got Polly here, Nese. Polly, are you here for asking a question, Nese, or Blind Truth? 4 minutes and 44 seconds. And welcome, Nese.
Welcome, Polly.
Welcome, Polly. It's getting late for me. Polly, can you hear us? We can't hear you, Polly. No, we'll have to wait.
Is there
for Polly.
a limit on how many people you can take on the StreamYard?
We got 5 so far, and we're doing well. But Polly can't talk.
Well, he can talk, but we're not hearing him.
No, yeah, and Malia just dropped out, so I think it's Malia's connection, perhaps where she is. But Polly, when you're ready and you can sort that out, you can.
Would you like another poem in the meantime?
Yeah, why not?
Well, we was talking about the beast inside, and I ended up writing a poem to help when you can't always control that beast inside, called
Cool.
De-stress.
Sounds good. Go for it.
Life is like a roller coaster. It has its ups and downs, and stress builds up in most of us. You can see it in people's frowns. It makes us ill, it makes us angry, it makes us make mistakes. And if it's left to boil over, one push is all it takes. So the stress, it must be handled, like that kettle about to boil. Flip that switch and settle down, make that anger inside recoil. Then go and find that special place where you can really blow off steam and let it out. Just sing or cry or laugh or even scream. However you choose to do it, you should really find a way. For if you don't, you may just find your kettle blows up one day.
I like it. I like the energy. That's cool. Okay, so we lost Polly. We lost Polly can't get it to work. Just wanted to say this for Nese about truth. I'm sorry, can't get it working, Polly. Maybe next time, because I'd like to get you on as a guest as well. All right, so nese. Anything else? We've still got like half an hour left, I think, or roughly, if you want to use it up.
I'm at your disposal, ma'am.
Oh, this is nice having a minute at my disposal. Shh.
What is the expression? Ask me no question, for I'll tell you no lie.
Yeah. What else? I probably had other questions for you. Oh, there was one about the Wendigos.
Ooh.
Bending it right back around to the beginning. We got a Polly. Polly has, before we go to that, Polly says, many truths have been taken, yet the truth is never mistaken. The truth is too proud to hide, yet the truth itself has no pride. The truth can bring joy or it can bring tears. Thank you, Polly, that's true. And I know one thing that, yeah, thank you. All right, what was it, nese? I hit you with
The
Wendigo.
Wendigo.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm taught of the Wendigo, as we have been discussing about the Holy Trinity, positive, neutral, and negative, the Wendigo is when a Anishinaabe will go so deep into the negative that the worst thing an Anishinaabe can do is to not only kill another Anishinaabe, but to eat of their flesh and drink of their blood. And this is when the individual starts transforming to the Wendigo. And so, as you have the full spectrum, if a Wendigo would be negative, then a Wendigo con would be positive, and everything in between. And it's just another one of those struggles of overcoming your own darkness, like the wolves, not feeding the negativity. Because when you get into the darkness, you can always get darker. And sometimes when you get so deep into the darkness, it's extremely hard to get back into the light.
So true. That what you just told me, I'm thinking about all them old places they found where they think they might have drank and ate and drank blood, and what they were really doing there. Oh, we got Polly back. Let's try again, eh? All right, you're on, Polly. I hope it works.
Does it work?
Yeah, it does. Hey, welcome, Polly.
Oh, yay. Hi, Luna. Hi, nese, Buzz.
So you here for
Hey,
I wanted to
Miracle.
recite. I wanted to. Okay, 'cause Buzz is like really inspiring with his poems, and I dabble in poetry once in a while, and I have one about the truth for it's for nese,
Okay.
because he wants to do that blind truth thing. So I figured this would be appropriate. Anyways, here it goes. Many truths have been taken, yet the truth is never mistaken. The truth is too proud to hide, yet the truth itself has no pride. The truth can bring joy or it can bring tears. The truth is the root cause and cure for all fears. Sometimes it slips out from too many beers. The truth is imperfect, impartial, and precise. You will never hear the truth being asked something twice. There's one thing the truth does that puts it above. When it's behind a word we often call love, the ultimate protection from doubt.
Bravo.
Thank you, Buzz. That means a lot coming from you. Seriously, I love your work, man.
And the crowd
Dude,
goes
what
wild.
can I say? The not only the rhyming, but the structure. I mean, it's well thought out, and the way you've got it coming down in its meaning to the final crunch. I mean, wow, bravo, dude.
Thank you very
I
much.
have a little one. I guess it's not a poem, it's more of a limerick. Don't make love by the garden gate. Love is blind, but the neighbors ain't.
Do you call that one ode to skinny dipping where you shouldn't?
I call that one the voyeur next door.
That is funny. I love your poem, but Polly, that was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really good to see you online and doing live shows. Super proud of you, Luna. Keep it going. I'll be I'll be one of your biggest fans.
You'll all be on you, don't worry. I'll have you in the hot seat.
But we won't hobble you.
As long as the hot seat's in the corner, that's okay.
No, yeah, the corner seat, yeah. We can do that just for you, Polly.
Polly, I would, as a fellow poet, I would say, keep writing, brother.
Yeah, I've got a few more. I'll have to dig them up and I'll share them with you, Buzz.
Groovy.
Right on.
So,
So
cool.
on that note, I just wanted to pop in and throw that in there into the truth mix. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with this whole thing. And everybody have a lovely Sunday or Spun Day, whatever you call it, and stay bright. I love you all. And it's really good to see everybody here.
it is. Thank you for everyone.
Love you, Polly.
Love you too, brother.
Love you too, Polly.
Love you
Stay
too.
safe.
See you
And
guys.
it is Monday in Australia, and
It is, and it's public holiday. It's Anzac Day.
Don't ruin my Sunday, and I say.
Yeah, I'm in the future. Yeah. Well, don't worry. Tomorrow's forecast is drunk and disorderly because it's Anzac Day, and everyone here will be getting drunk.
Okay, guys, take it easy. Have a good day.
Toodles.
See you, Polly. Love you.
Bye.
Yeah,
Ciao for now.
That's cool. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, so the time is 2 hours and 46 minutes, and I presume that it's going to cut out any time now, unless they give me free time. And if they do, they'll say that's got something to do with nese.
Well, in which case, I'm going to shoot off and get myself some dinner. So I'd like to say thank you very much for having me up, Luna. It's been a pleasure. Nice to hear from you again, nese. Brilliant as always, brother. Loads of love to everyone in the chat. Loads of love to Luna and nese. And with that, stay groovy.
Yeah.
Toodles, Buzz.
Yeah, Louis Buzz. Thank you. Love you, brother.
Ciao
We
for
know
now.
the absolute excitement of this occurrence today, Luna, is, you are doing what you've had aspirations of doing. And I told you from the get-go, I'm at your beck and call. And when you need me, if I am available, I'll be here for you. And if you want this monkey to dance, then this monkey shall dance for you, Luna.
Thank you. I just got to learn to play music better.
Of course, I won't be doing any rain dances because that'll cost you $19.99.
Yeah, we've had enough rain here, and it's 20. What did I say it was? It's the price has gone up. No, say it's the 21st century. But I hope to do like this as a late night show for me and a morning show for you fellas. And I hope to swap it around too, so I can get up early sometimes and swap places with you. Nese, and it could be an evening show for all your fellas so you aren't at work. But I like the morning show because I get to say, have a really good day, everyone over there, and everyone in Australia to dream well. And it's just nice to have that change, even though tomorrow I'll get up and I have big bags under my eyes from staying up so late. But that's okay. I had a really good time here, Nese, and I'm so glad that you came on. And
please subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe.
And share
and
like.
Yeah, and come back.
And
again.
you know what? if you send Luna proof that you've gotten 5 people to subscribe to her channel, and if she shares this with me, I'll get you guys a cannabis t-shirt.
Oh, there you go. See, free t-shirts.
Little incentive there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nese.
So prove that you got 5 people to subscribe for Luna.
Thank you, everyone. This is all new. So yeah, I'm up here. It took a while, and thanks to the captain, that's where it all started. And I hope that all the shows in the future are just as enjoyable as the ones that we've had so far. Yeah, and Nese will be back for sure. Don't worry about that. So Nese, is there anything you want to yarn on about, and we'll round up the evening, or anything that was
Well,
left
I think it might be best that we give our salutations, and then that way it doesn't just abruptly cut us off.
Okay, yes,
you know.
I agree. That's what I'm saying too, is that you want to... I'm going to let you in.
Well, are you, your Gmail, isn't that the same as your channel name now?
Luna? No, my Gmail is different. It's Cowenal Woman.
Oh, is that what you're going to use for people if they want to reach out and contact you?
Oh, I never even thought about that. If people want, I didn't think people would really want to reach out and talk to me, but yeah, they do. You can drop me an email, I suppose. Yeah, I can even put in. Do I put in chat? I'm new to all this now, so you have to guide me. I just jumped on here and wanted to talk to everyone and say, hi, isn't the world wonderful? It's full of all this weird information, and that's what we're here for.
Well, yeah. Forgive me for throwing the marketing out there and the
okay.
pushing you.
I thought Jules was my manager.
Well, she could be your woman manager.
Yeah, you got a point there. Yeah.
And then I could be your manager. So you get the full spectrum.
Yeah, I get the idea. Yes. Yeah. So I do have an email that you can contact me on, and it's goannawoman@gmail.com. If you don't know how to spell
it, or drop it in the chat.
I will drop it in the chat. Hear my old-fashioned typing skills there.
And if you feel the need to reach out and contact me, Tough Titty said the kitty when the milk went dry. No. You can find me at themegaphoneman@gmail.com.
I'll put that in
all
too.
one word, themegaphoneman@gmail.com. I have a megaphone and I'm not afraid to use it. It was the best $60 I ever spent, because if you want somebody to hear what you're saying, amplification is one way of making that happen.
True. I wanted one of them. My cousin had one, but it didn't work when I got it. So that meant I had to buy one, and I haven't done that yet.
And so you should throw a little dopamine out to if there's anybody out there in the YouTube, give them a shout out, say some names.
Yes, we do. We have
dopamine squirt.
Limitless Phoenix. I like that name, Phoenix. And ZX is still with us. I know our Buzz is in there still, and Polly, and Malia's left. Who we got left? We did have Annette. It came to join us. And Brenda Mitchell, and that's going back now because I presume that they're on their day now and they're well into it. But thank you, everybody, for joining in the chat there and listening and watching. Yeah. Do you want to take us out, Nese?
Well, all I can say is, universe, thank you so much for allowing us this precious existence and the ability to experience each other in this miraculous perfection of uniqueness. And may we all find the strength within love, without fear, to open up completely and assist others in finding the positivity and transmuting the negativity, or minimally neutralize it. And if you need or want of me, I shall be here, as I'm fairly certain that Luna is available also, because we're all in this together, and we may not have it all together, but together we can have it all. So chi miigwech, a pe gish minobima deziwe wiyan, gunikana, toodles.
Yellow, thank you. And I don't know if I press the button that you're going to go nese, but I'm going to press it now, and I'll talk to you in a minute. Yellow,
Press the
thank you.
button.